Welcome back to another video. I am once again in the workshop. If you are a subscriber to my channel, you may have noticed that I haven't put up a lot of content over the last 6 months. Haven't spent much time in the workshop. I guess I've been working and living life and just having a little break from it all, to be honest. There's no more Rockingham. We went to the last ever Rockingham day. That was amazing. If you've not seen that video, then check it out. I put a few clips up. It wasn't a big video, just a few clips. To be honest, I spent most of the day enjoying my last ever time at Rockingham, and it was amazing. Very sad to see it go, but yeah. So I don't really know what plans I've got for the 180SX. The one thing that I do want to do is tidy it up. There are a few little bits and pieces that I'd like to carry out and replace bits, just make sure that it's as good as can be without spending a fortune on it. So yeah, with that being said, I made a purchase from GK Tech in Australia. I purchased a few parts to hopefully improve the functionality of the 180. I'll run through those parts now. The first part is the 350Z Gearbox Conversion that I have. We made a engine mounting for it, utilising a couple of cheap like Fiesta stock engine mounts, which are quite small, and then made some like box section, cut the box section up and made it into an engine mount, a gearbox mount. So we got some metal, some box section, and cut it up and welded it together to make a gearbox mount, which seemed to do the job. Well, I don't think the engine mounts that we've used are really up to it. The gearbox is shaking about quite a lot, as you can see from this video clip. So yeah, the whole shifter and assembly moves about quite violently during hard launches and burnouts. So with that in mind, I wanted to stiffen it up and have less vibrations and shakes through the car, which is quite annoying, should I add. So yeah, with that in mind, I purchased this, which is GK Tech's, I guess that's perhaps 8mm, is it? 8mm steel plate. It's quite lightweight. It's going to be lighter than the current mount that I have on there. I bought that in addition to their poly gearbox mount. As you can see, it should be a lot stiffer than the mounts we've got on there. So with those combined, hopefully that should eliminate the shaking of the gear shifter and the whole transmission. I will be replacing the engine mounts as well at some point, but I'm unsure whether I'm going to pull the engine out and kind of go over everything. So I'll probably leave that for a later date, but I'll definitely be replacing them because they are probably about 10 years old. So yeah, they could do with replacing. The other items that I got were these bolts. So these bolts are for the, I believe it's the rear toe arms. I should know. It's pretty much, I'm pretty certain it's the toe arms on the rear. So the washers are obviously, they're drilled. They're just normal washers. The ones that are on the car are acentric, I believe is the term. So it basically allows for adjustment of the toe by turning the bolt, and that moves the arm very slightly. So this is quite common on like factory alignment arms. But obviously, being a drift car, it's lowered quite a lot, and it's got adjustable arms on it, so we can adjust everything anyway, so we don't need those. And it was pointed out to me by Steve Richardson, I believe, that he thought it looked like my wheel was moving as I entered at Silverstone. This was probably about a year ago, or 2 years ago maybe, scarily. And he said that I should replace them. I completely forgot all about them, and then when I was going through GK Tech's website, I came across these bolts, and for like 20 odd quid I thought it was worth purchasing them. So the idea of this brake line kit that I've bought is that it's got a little valve in it. You can lock the or block off the pressure that goes to the rear brakes. Basically that means that when you operate the brake pedal, you're just holding the front brakes. So it allows you to do your roll and burnout without any braking effort going to the rear, meaning you can just stand on it and light them up without cooking the brakes. So yeah, hopefully that will be, we just make burnouts a bit easier. It's a bit kinder on the drivetrain and everything else basically. So that is everything that I've bought so far from GK Tech. Now I guess we're gonna fit it to the car. We'll make a start anyway. So yeah, let's do that. So the bolts in question are these ones. These are the ones we're going to be replacing. As you can see, they have this like eccentric cam washer arrangement, which means that you loosen this nut, turn the bolt on the back, and it will adjust this arm very slightly in and out, which in turn will affect or adjust your toe on the rear. So I think what's happening, what can happen, is the big sticky tyres that a lot of people are running nowadays, the semi-slicks, and the crazy angles and speeds that drift cars are getting up to nowadays, puts a lot of strain on this arm here, pushes it in, and can adjust your toe in or out, which obviously will affect your handling potentially every time you drive or initiate. So it's the same on both sides. So those bolts just change. You just change the washers effectively, new bolts, new washers, and then of course it will need another alignment. So yeah, we'll change the bolts now and we'll align it at a later stage. So that is all wrapped up now. So the bolts for the toe arms, toe adjustment arms, are fitted. One thing I did forget to mention is that the bolts also come for the camber arms as well, up the top. So again, it's the same deal with those. It just stops the eccentric washer adjusting on its own and throwing out your camber alignment as well as the toe. To get the toe ones removed, the bolts were going from the inside. I did have to disconnect the drive shafts, which is a pretty simple job. Just disconnect them, move them back a bit, and then you can pull the bolts out. When I fitted the new bolts, I've put them through from the back because I figured if I needed to change a toe arm on the rear, it would be a lot easier to do without disconnecting a drive shaft, especially if you're against the clock, say you've got a 5-minute rule or something in competition. The only downside to that is, of course, you can't see the nut as easily as it's in there, so if it comes loose, I don't know, you just have to keep an eye on it and make sure that you're doing your nut and bolt checks properly. With replacing the camber bolts, they've got, the old ones have this, I guess it's like an anti-vibration damper or counterbalance, and they do weigh quite a bit. There's quite a bit of weight there. I would say 4 or 5, probably 4 times the bolt that we replaced it with, which is similar to the toe bolts. So yeah, a little bit of a weight saving, which is always good. And that is it. Those are your 4 bolts. So next up we have the Z32 to S13 handbrake line conversion plate. So hopefully we can get that fitted and it'll all fit perfectly and be magical. So, but we'll see.